Good evening once again, race fans. It is time for another Zelda 1 Randomizer Speed Gaming Live 2023 online tournament restream. We are here in the group stage, and tonight we are going to be watching Potato Pony and Kiglis facing off. In their group, OpnoPoint is already 4-0, and the rest of the runners are all scrambling to try to get some wins, because 2 runners out of each group can advance. And so I don't know that this is quite a must-win situation for our runners, but they could both really use it. And we're already off, and spawning right near the coast. That's a convenient spot. So we'll get an immediate look at our coast item. It is the red candle. So once we have the ladder, we'd be able to obtain that, but as a result it seems likely that our players are going to have to either use a take any or spend some money in order to purchase a blue candle at some point before then. But very near the start, we have Dungeon 7. Let's go ahead and start labeling the overworld map with the places that our runners have seen. And both runners are going to take a peek inside this level 7 and see if there's anything great for them. We've got some Pole's voice among the mix of monsters. And both take a little peek and then decide, let's go try to find an Armos item, let's go see if we can find a wood sword, etc. Potato Pony is going to be the first. Check the first of 3 Armos screens that are on this half of the Hyrule continent. It turns out to be just another door repair charge. Potato Pony is now going to go check Vanilla First Quest 2 spot, which I think doesn't make sense because it's a second quest overworld and he does not yet have the recorder to blow the lake there. So realizing that error, Potato Pony takes an epee. Meanwhile, Kiglis moves on to the next Armos, which is just a would-be hint that got replaced by a community hint. And so we'll see finally if this Armos up at the Lost Hills is perhaps our item, or if it's going to be in the other half of the world. And today it's going to be in the other half of the world. We've got a money-making game. Rarely used, but in Second Quest Overworld, sometimes you get desperate for money for keys. But the many blue dark nuts on the screen to the north finish off Kiglis and send him back home. There are a number of open caves in the northeast. Potato Pony witnesses the dark nuts and decides to try to go around, and Kiglis is taking advantage of the fact of being sent back to spawn to head in a different direction and explore the open cave just south of the desert. And Dungeon 3 is here. I always like to say Dungeon 3 is the best dungeon. It's relatively small. It typically does not eat your keys. You can bomb through all the bombable walls. What's not to like? It's also a beautiful color today. Meanwhile, Potato Pony is witnessing some more of these caves in the northeast. Kiglis trying to see if and what he can get done. But so far, I think Potato Pony's already knocked out 3 of the 10 door repair charges that the runners may uncover in the second quest overworld. And while you have no money, that's the best place to encounter them. Keys and bait are both on sale pretty cheap today, up there in the northeast. In case you missed it, today we can buy keys for 62 and the bait for 46, both of those close to their lowest possible prices. And yes, that small secret of 1 rupee, very impressive, but honestly the small secret, it's almost always inconsequential. I suppose if it's very near the top of its range in Second Quest Overworld, it can matter. But in any case, you can see on the overworld map on the top of the screen As Potato Pony lights up caves, they turn green. As Kigalus witnesses what's inside caves, they'll turn red. And if both runners have seen it, it'll turn blue. So we can tell where the runners have been and what remains. Bombs are very expensive today at 37 rupees, available at the top of the waterfall. Also the wooden arrows on sale there for 91. And Kigalus finds a Take Any and is going to take a candle. So we have our first weapon of the seed, less than 5 minutes in. Kigalus is immediately going to start taking advantage of this to bomb out some of these trees in the forest near start. Finds another one of those amazing small secrets with 1 whole rupee. Blue dark nuts again. And Kigalus finds our medium secret is 34. That's pretty decent. Potato Pony finds another small. Kigalus, unfortunately, is picking up that secret at a time where he's still very susceptible to just losing all that money to door repairs before he'll have a chance to spend it. But he picks up another one. Now he's up to a nice number of rupees. It's possible he'll be able to make a purchase before it all goes away. Meanwhile, Potato Pony has also made his way over to the Take Any cave, and presumably, yes, is also going to elect to take the candle. But yeah, welcome in everyone. Like I said, in terms of consequences for this group stage, both runners really need a win here to have decent chances of advancing. But Kigalus has found the sword up at the Death Armos screen. That's a big deal. Potato Pony is also getting close to being there. The wood sword is the only sword available in this flag set. The white sword and magical sword have been replaced with bomb upgrades in the SGL tournament flags. And yeah, as Chad is pointing out, that means the Grave Armos is actually going to have our Armos item. So I expect both runners will definitely try to route that in shortly. I think Kigalus will probably try to finish up what he can see of the dead words and then just walk around to the grave. But yeah, I would be reluctant to dive any dungeons other than 1 or 2 if I found them at this point. I'd want to pick up the Armos item first. Potato Pony whittles down the enemies so that he's able to survive on this screen. And also is going to pick up his sword. And meanwhile, Kigalus found a Take Any, and this time he has taken the heart. And so he's up to 4 hearts. White sword cave item is shuffled, and so if we do encounter it, we'll take 4 to 6 hearts to lift. Could be any one of miscellaneous sundry items of possible great value. Well, some of Kigalus's money disappears to the door repair charge, but still got a fair amount. Potato Pony's also got a decent amount. We might be able to pull off a purchase. Kigalus at some point did get his first bomb pack, and that is presumably our magical sword bomb upgrade. I'm going to go ahead and mark it as such. There's a chance that it's the white sword bomb upgrade. Kigalus didn't even try to lift it at 4. But the odds are small. Potato Pony also finds the same Take Any cave, and also elects to take the heart the second time around. So now both runners are up to 4 hearts. And Kigalus is continuing his way up to the grave. We don't have the recorder to open the one spot, but we can push the other grave. And it's our any roads. Let's discover where they go today. One goes up to West Death Mountain. That's nice. Another goes up to West Death Mountain. That's not as nice. And the final one, survey says, hey! Over on the east side, just a few screens away from where we spawn. So that is actually of great value today. Kiglis, I don't mind this. I might have continued on to try to get the Grave Armos to get my free item first, but he's going to go ahead, since he's near the northeast and missed the opportunity to clear these open caves out first. He's going to go ahead and clear them out now. Either way, I hope he heads back to the Armos to get that item shortly. Meanwhile, Potato Pony is headed up to the grave now. Kiglis with the bomb will give us our first look at this bomb spot in the northeast, but it's just a potion shop. But yeah, we had not one, not two, but three of our any roads up there in the northwest, which I've zoomed in on the upper left, or on the upper map. So yeah, that often seems to happen in Randomizer, that the any roads end up very clustered. But that one other any road vindicated it all. Until the runners get a recorder and some Triforces, that will be a useful system of fast travel between the area near the starting forest and West Death Mountain, which would otherwise be a bit of a hike. Potato Pony has picked up a bomb, so he's going to be able to bomb the grave spot. Ooh, and finds level 1. He is choosing to go in. An alternative choice might be to check the Armos first to see if it happens to be something great like the wand, and then come back into level 1. That said, we've got Lionel's, and he's already picked up a key, and we've got a few open doors. There's our container heart in Dungeon 1. Potato Pony picks it up. Continues out of that room, and now he's going to take a peek to the right. And meanwhile, Kiglis is checking some more places in the forest near the start. And Potato Pony manages to kill a few Tektites and pull Triforce 1. And now he's going ahead and exiting the dungeon and heading to check on the Armos. I approve. And if he heads right back into Dungeon 1, I'd approve of that too. It's the raft as our Armos item today. Potato Pony picks it up. And meanwhile, Dungeon 5 has been located in the forest by Kiglis. And now that he's got a sword and a candle, he's going to attack it. There's a shutter door, which... Is he going to be able to defeat this last rope? I guess he can always exit and re-enter the room and try to finish it off so that he can continue that way through the dungeon. Potato Pony is elected to just keep exploring, perhaps return to Dungeon 1 a little bit later. He checked out Forgotten Spot, and another cave nearby that just had some door repairs. But so far, for both our runners, it feels like they're making really good progress in this seed. We're less than 15 minutes in. They've got good fast transport. They've located all the odd-numbered dungeons other than Dungeon 9. Kiglis making use of a bomb to hit some ropes as well as test a bomb wall in Dungeon 5. But decides he's not making much progress right now, and will come back later. Potato Pony might be headed to the raft spot. This is a player strategy This is a strategy that players often take advantage of, which is once you get a blocking item, try to go check those places on the overworld as soon as possible, because you might have an advantage over your opponent. Kigulus is choosing to leave behind the Take Any that we just saw in, I think it was the corner of Candle Row, and instead he's going to go start bombing out, or I guess it was not Candle Row, excuse me. He's going to start bombing out the south coast. Potato Pony does check the raft spot on the island, but it's just a potion shop. But yeah, we found dungeons 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And right near Dungeon 9 is the Take Any that Kigulus has left behind. So let's circle back in 45 minutes to an hour. That might be one of those cases of he'll go back and grab that red potion right before he enters Dungeon 9. That's a very convenient location to leave one behind. Meanwhile, Potato Pony finds one near start and decides to pick up another heart, bringing him to 5. And now Kigulus is going to try out Dungeon 7 once again. We'll see if he decides to try to kill the Pole's Voice since he's still got his beam sword, or if he's going to exit and hope that Tektites return. But these players have done some good coverage of this overworld. Between the two of them, we've already seen about 2/3 of the spots. Obviously our even-numbered dungeons, as well as our White Sword Cave, are still missing. Both runners have only taken maybe like 2 deaths apiece on the overworld right near the beginning, and are now handling themselves quite well. Potato Pony discovers Dungeon 5 and is also going to take a peek. We've got possible ladder block with the moat. And then there's this same room. Will Potato Pony take the time to kill the ropes just to get one room further? Looks like he will, making the same choice as Kigulus did. Meanwhile, Kigulus has fought through some like-likes and is getting deeper into Dungeon 7. Gets its key for his trouble. Both runners now have 1. Now Kigulus has 2. That is, especially in this flag set with the second quest overworld where money can be scarce, a value of diving the large dungeons early is it's often the case that they're dense with rooms and well connected, that you can bomb around where there are key doors and walk around and just pick up some keys without having to spend them. And so, in this seed today, Kigulus' relatively early dive of Dungeon 7 is definitely netting him some keys. Bombs are expensive, but the bomb and arrow shop is somewhat common in this seed, as Potato Pony finds another one of them. And the Lionels finally take down Kigulus, sending him back to the start of this dungeon. But he has managed to see and clear almost a dozen rooms. We'll see if that Goma ends up mattering later. And meanwhile, Potato Pony is headed back into the best dungeon, Dungeon 3. Once again has to kill these like-likes. A time-consuming process. And Potato Pony, sadly, is also going to have some struggles now in the dungeon, taking a death. Those room with Beamos, when you're also dealing with other enemies, can be quite a challenge. Blue bubbles, maybe not so much, but even then, they can knock you back, and then you can get knocked into a Beamos beam, and a Patra is guarding a bomb pack. The Landmoa are red and slow enough to walk around. Kikolas is going to leave behind some Lionels, and meanwhile Potato Pony witnesses a very ugly room. This dungeon enemy set in Dungeon 3. Wizrobes, Pole's Voice. I said Dungeon 3 is the best dungeon, but in this seed I'm starting to rethink that. And Bubbles, oh my. And yeah, that's a good point in chat. Apparently Kikolas did not try pushing the block in the Tektite room that had 2 push blocks. And given that Remove Open Stairs is on in this flag set, even with a standing floor drop, it's still possible that there could be a push block in the room. So we'll see if that comes back to haunt him. In the meantime, Kikolas has taken some bombs and is going to give us our first look at a variety of these bombable caves on Death Mountain. Potato Pony trying to get past some Wizrobes and discovers an open staircase in Dungeon 3. We have our first new basement item, and it's a doozy. It's the Silver Arrows, found first by Potato Pony in Dungeon 3, and redeeming your commentator, Dungeon 3 is indeed the best dungeon. I know, you all never doubted me for a second. It's a fantastic find for Potato Pony. There is the White Sword Cave on Kikolas' side, up on Death Mountain. And today's White Sword item is the Any Key. Sadly, Kikolas only has 4 hearts and is not able to lift it just yet. Potato Pony takes a red potion from his final Take Any Cave. So he's located all 4 of those. He took a candle, 2 hearts, and now a potion. And then he tries to bomb a spot that bombs in first quest, but not in second. Oops. Potato Pony catching up with some of these checks on the south coast. Kikolas continuing to give us our first look at more of these caves on Death Mountain. But Kikolas has 3 keys, and knows if he can pull another heart or 2 from somewhere in the world, he will be in great shape key-wise. So I think if he does dig a dungeon, such as Dungeon 1 that's right around the corner, he'll be very willing to spend the keys. That heart container was very easy to find, so Kikolas has just picked up his raft from the Armos, by the way. The heart container in 1 was very easy to find, and so if Kikolas does find Dungeon 1 shortly, it seems likely he might go back to the White Sword Cave and see if he can lift things at 5. A raft that's required because Potato Pony has found that the Cove Raft spot contains Dungeon 4. At long last, one of the even-numbered dungeons has been discovered. And it's a Guerilla set, which is well within reason. Potato Pony uses a bomb to soften up the Guerilla. His reward, a compass and an open shutter door. Kikolas does not go back to the 2 grave spots that are now slightly orphaned, and so has not discovered the location of Dungeon 1. He does, however, discover a lot more rubies, bringing his total up to 195. Potato Pony continuing to methodically go through room by room. So far this enemy set has not proved an obstacle in Dungeon 4. He's up to 3 keys. And this pointless moat room drops in Dungeons 1, 4, and 5 in the Shapes dungeon layout, so Potato Pony is going to clear it. And also, bombs open a wall. There's a free bomb pack when he needs it again shortly. Kiglis is going to finish off some of these checks that Potato Pony made earlier near Candle Row, and presumably the raft spot, if he remembers he has the raft. And it definitely looked like he remembered. He was headed for the dock, but got shot by Zora before he had the chance to check it off. We know it's inconsequential, but for for Kiglis, unfortunately, that's an orphaned room that's, at least it's near the center of the map, but it's kind of away from any other checks that he needs to make. So it may be a while before we see that. Meanwhile, however, it looks like he's going to go join Potato Pony in Dungeon 4, as he looks like he's headed for the other raft check. A very nice bomb by Potato Pony kills multiple red gorilla at once. He's making his way up towards where he knows the Triforce is, but trying to get everything cleared along the way. And honestly, the enemy set here, this has been our best dungeon in terms of easy enemies. Lots of keys and gels, and then a mix of blue and red gorillas. Potato Pony using some bombs to bomb the Zols so they don't split. He's got 3 keys and is choosing not to use one. He has not witnessed the fact that the any key is the white sword item yet, so if Kiglis gets into some of these same rooms, he might be more willing to spend the keys somewhat willy-nilly. But we do have a moat that appears to be blocking at least one room in Dungeon 4, and we've not yet witnessed the basement of Dungeon 4. So it's possible that we will be ladder blocked out of the item, although it looks like we're going to be able to get to the Triforce room. There is a floor heart in the room just before the Triforce. Potato Pony picks it up. Kiglis will be especially happy to see that once he gets there. It'll bring him up to 50-50 for lifting the any key, which will only be a few screens away thanks to the any roads once Kiglis does exit Dungeon 4. Potato Pony finds a bomb upgrade for a price of 110. He ponders it for a moment, thinking 111 would be a better number. I agree. But then decides to purchase it. It's a +5. Potato Pony is up to a max capacity of 13 bombs. I imagine we'll see a lot more bomb combat out of Potato Pony when it's appropriate. He gets trapped in with a Gleeok and decides to spend one of his potions that he took from the Take Any. Red becomes blue, and now he's got beam swords to try to finish off the Gleeok. He knows that his reward is going to be a map of this dungeon, because the Triforce room, when it contains enemies and no standing drop, will always drop the map in Z1r randomizer. He gets a map of Level Tour, and we get to see it in all its glory. It does look like that moat is avoidable. If you were to spend the key to the south, you would get across the boat that I called out earlier. He's trying to decide about that decision because now that he's spent his money and is just sitting on 2 keys, he is even less likely to spend his keys willy-nilly, one might say. I think he might have witnessed all the other rooms in the dungeon, and if that's the case, I would spend the key as well if you're guaranteed to find the basement there. I think it's possible he left 1 or 2 rooms near the beginning. He's going to go ahead and grab the Triforce. And now I wonder if we will see him head back in and pick up 1 or 2 rooms he has missed. Nope, he's just going to save. He has the information. It's only a few screens away from... He's going to save scum the key. Okay, this is a clever strategy. It's only a few screens away from spawn, so he's made the save. He's going to go spend the key, and if it's not worth it, he's going to retry. I think that's a very good strategy. And Potato Pony does not know the white sword item is the any key. Kigulus does. And so it'll be interesting to see if Kigulus makes a different choice that turns out to work out more efficiently for him, given that extra knowledge. There's the floor heart. Kigulus now knows he's got a 50% chance of being able to pick up that any key. And he's choosing to fight this room now. I guess he didn't get the compass? Or did he? I don't recall. I thought he did. So he would know the Triforce is in here. And that blue bubble, it's better than a red one, for sure, and so you don't want to necessarily respawn the room and get the red bubble inside the room with you. But I also kind of wish it didn't have any bubbles inside. He's leaving it with 1 enemy to get the Triforce easily later. He also is purchasing the bomb upgrade. Potato Pony does a spend a key, get a key. Perhaps in the upper left of Dungeon 4. Kigulus is also getting trapped with the Gliok in the map room, but he currently has beam swords and is using them very effectively. Only a couple hits to finish this guy off. He's down to beep strats, but he manages to defeat the Gliok. And is hoping for a heart or a fairy or something with all these bombs from these Zols. He does get a heart, so I appreciate using the bombs there, and he spends the key immediately. And this seems like it's likely to be our item. Will it be an impactful one? We'll find out in just a moment. We've got a new item in Dungeon 4, first being witnessed by Kigulus. It's the reporter. That's a great find. And meanwhile, I think Potato Pony did just execute the retry. Perhaps he knows a route that allows him to take a key profit, because I don't think he got the recorder yet, but he also knows that he has to spend the key in the other location. So now Kigulus is going to have to, he's got plenty of bombs. I would want to get this rope going, moving horizontally, ideally. You could also just spawn it inside with you. That's a possibility, too. But if you can get it moving horizontally towards you, you'll definitely be able to bomb it. Here you go. There you go. Perfect. So, Potato Pony was first in, but Kigulus is first out of Dungeon 4. And honestly, the difference was knowledge that the white sword item is the any key. And so that earlier dive of the overworld Death Mountain gave Kigulus an advantage there that enabled him to spend less time in Dungeon 4. And so that's a possible thing that could turn the match. That said, both runners making, I think, good decisions based on the information available to them at the time. Potato Pony will not be far behind. He is also going to discover the recorder in the basement. And my guess is he's not going to leave it behind. The recorder in Second Quest Overworld opens up many more spots. Speaking of which, our spawn point is one of them. And you win a single rupee. Kiglis is going to go ahead and spend the rest of his money on wood arrows. Actually, not the rest of it. A good portion of the rest of it. And Potato Pony witnesses an arrow shot, but doesn't have money to do the same. So, from Kiglis' point of view, as well as Potato Pony's, Dungeons 2, 6, and 8 are outstanding. 2 is definitely one you'd like to find early. Kiglis also knows the location of 1. Sorry, Potato Pony knows the location of 1, but has yet to pull the items out of it. It's somewhat far afield. The any roads make it quicker to get back to Dungeon 1. Potato Pony has 13 bombs right now. He's going to bomb this one spot in the northeast that he didn't have a chance the first time through. I guess there's a couple spots there. But then it'll be interesting to see if he circles around to Death Mountain so that he can spend these bombs on the way back to Dungeon 1. I think that's one possible reasonable routing strategy in terms of the overworld for Potato Pony. For Kiglis, I feel like he's got more open-ended choices. He's choosing to use the recorder. Once again, press the advantage once you've gotten a blocking item. Go try to check out all the spots that it blocks on the overworld. Although, from Kiglis' point of view, Dungeon 2 is the only juicy find, I feel like, at this point, since it could be an easy place to pull an item. Chat is telling me that the recorder tune today is from Pokemon. Shocked Pikachu face. That gif. It's fun to speculate about what the runners might be thinking. But yes, it's also perhaps foolhardy. Kiglis takes a gamble, loses some rupees. But at this point, he's bought wood arrows, he knows the existence of the any key, and the blue ring seems likely out of reach. So taking a gamble seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to do. I don't believe we have seen the potion letter from either of our runners yet. Potato Pony manages to win a small prize, as he's also checking out the gambling and the various payouts. But Kiglis did manage to check that raft spot that he left behind off the list. And now, apart from power bracelet spots, the entire right bottom 2/3 of our map is completely coated in blue, which means both runners have already been in the caves in those locations. In the upper left, there's a bit of red where Kiglis has been and Potato Pony has not, and a couple of green screens where Potato Pony has been and Kiglis has not. All of that, of course, is being auto-tracked by Z-Restreamer, a tool I've spent the last month programming that reads screenshots from the live videos of each of the two runners and keeps track of all the places they have been. If you'd like a Z-Restreamer emote, you could always subscribe for that and some other cute emotes. Kiglis heads back to the White Sword Cave with his 6 hearts and picks up the any key. Speaking of 6 hearts, he picked up a Take Any Heart, and I forgot to mark it. Level 6 has been discovered on Eastern Death Mountain in the open cave, and a Triforce was just lying on the ground near the entrance. And just like that, Potato Pony has Triforce 6. There are Pole's Voice in here. Potato Pony would love to find a bow. Oh my goodness. Can we have some type of staircase? Because he's already got the silvers. It's the wand! That is the nicest 6 that you will see. Walk in and get a Triforce, walk through one other room and get a wand. That is just gift wrapped. All for the price of just having to explore to the most remote portion of the map, East Death Mountain. It's a big payoff for Potato Pony. Meanwhile, Kigulus has finally discovered the location of Dungeon 1, and whereas Potato Pony only exited with a Triforce and a heart, Kigulus is definitely in position to probably dig out the rest of this one, assuming it's not ladder blocked. Potato Pony unfortunately takes a death up on Death Mountain, with still a few screens up there, but at this point he'll probably head to West Death Mountain instead and start his exploration from there, and so the Any key is probably not too far away in Potato Pony's future. But so far, a great race from both of our runners. Apart from Dungeon 3, which had the Whiz Robes, none of the combat has been too overwhelming. The runners have handled themselves well against enemies like Gleox. And our large secret has been discovered by Potato Pony. I guess Kigulus saw it earlier, and that's part of how he got so much money. I believe that was 142. I had missed it the first time. But it was indeed 142, way up there in the very corner of the map. Very kind of that Octorok to give us so much cash. The book is an item that was in the basement of Dungeon 1, being found now by Kigulus. The book is an atlas in this flag set. That's going to give him a map of all the dungeons. We can see what our Dungeon 1 looks like. And at this point, there is just the other floor item. And Potato Pony does indeed discover the Any key, and already has the hearts to lift it. That's going to be a weight off of his shoulders. And so the next exciting moment will probably be when Kigulus manages to find the floor item somewhere in this Dungeon 1. Using bombs both to bomb open the wall as well as help kill the Redland Moa. He gets it killed, the other one will disappear when he re-enters the room. There are some enemies in the next room. Is this the room with the drop? No, of course not, because Diamond Stair I don't believe can drop in Dungeons 1, 4, or 5. This is Dungeon 1, so it's not going to be a drop there. Although with Remove Most Open Stairs, no, it would have been a standing drop. And also that was an open stair, so... I'm talking to myself. Don't mind me. The Tektites in this room make it pretty approachable. Kigulus can knock out a few Tektites and perhaps exit the room if he doesn't want to try to wear down these likes while being harassed by bubbles. Maybe the Tektites will return. And there are still a couple more rooms to the south of this Dungeon 1 that we also have not witnessed. But the seed is kind, the Tektites were the primary spawns. Kigulus is going to take them down. And it's the Power Bracelet! So at this point, we will be able to witness all of the spots on the overworld. However, we won't necessarily be able to reach the spots across the river that we might be able to bomb open. Dungeons 2 and 8 are still outstanding from the perspective of chat. But But Kigulus just needs to finish off 2 Tektites, and he will be out of Triforce, or out of Dungeon 1, with the Triforce and all the items. Meanwhile, Potato Pony has returned to Dungeon 1. He has the wand in hand, so he'll be able to employ a different strategy when it comes to fighting the Landmola. Takes it out without too much trouble. We'll also be pulling his book out of the basement. We'll get to witness the map of Dungeon 1, and now we'll realize that there is a room just to the left of him that he might be able to bomb into. Does see it, immediately spends the bomb, and is headed in the right direction. The bubbles will be no harassing for him, since he's got the wand. And with the book, the wand is now shooting fire. It will help take the leg-legs down a little bit quicker, perhaps. And there's the power bracelet, and so just like that, Potato Pony catches back up some in Dungeon 1 with some quicker combat toward the end. So we're 45 minutes into this one. We definitely have a race. What we don't know is the ladder going to be required, and where is it? Where is the bow? And where is Dungeon 8? I guess another thing we don't yet know that's still a bit of a wild card is, was there another path in Dungeon 6? And when Kigulus finally gets to Dungeon 6, will he also immediately find the Triforce and the wand? Or will he get lost clearing a bunch of rooms that Potato Pony managed to skip? Meanwhile, Dungeon 2 has been located. It was Power Bracelet required, right next door to Dungeon 1, where we just picked up the Power Bracelet. However, perhaps there was an immediate moat block? Because Potato Pony just exited. And so if that's the case, then that answers one of the questions I just posed in terms of the remaining outstanding questions. Is the ladder required? It seems like the answer is yes. And so in that regard, I didn't see if Kigulus had found Dungeon 2. I guess it's blue, so I guess he did. So I guess he also witnessed the ladder block and I missed it. And so now, if you're rooting for Kigulus, I imagine the ladder block in 2 is good for him, because I think that makes him more likely to dive Dungeon 6, as opposed to go a room in, get the Triforce, and decide to count your blessings and exit. And so I think it's more likely now that Kigulus is going to find the wand, should he dive Dungeon 6 before getting the ladder. That said, he knows of the existence of Dungeons 5 and 7, and so it seems likely that he might be headed back to one or both of those dungeons in search of the ladder at this moment in time. And indeed, it seems like he's gone back to Dungeon 5. With the Atlas in hand, we can now witness the full extent of this Dungeon 5. It is rather linear, so if it turns out to be a gauntlet, this could be trouble. And it's also the case that he does not have the wand yet, and so this combat is going to be, even if not necessarily all that much more difficult, it's going to be more time-consuming than it would be for Potato Pony. Meanwhile, Potato Pony is cleaning up some of the whistle and power bracelet spots on the overworld that Kigulus has already visited. And so for the first time now, I think Potato Pony has visited more screens in the overworld than Kigulus has. We still don't know the location of Dungeon 8. There are a few bomb spots left, and a few power bracelet spots. Potato Pony has chosen to dive Dungeon 7. Both of these still have unknown basement items. If one of them is the ladder, it could really put one of these players in the driver's seat. And welcome Raiders from RPG Limit Break. These runners are both running fantastic races. You've picked a good one. At this point, the runners have mostly cleared the overworld, as you can see from the top map. It's the ladder in Dungeon 5! Kigulus has found it. We know that Dungeon 2 is ladder blocked, so this ladder is required. It's also possible that Dungeon 8 might be ladder blocked because we haven't discovered it and there are some undiscovered caves across the river in the second quest overworld. But that is definitely a required item. While Kigulus is here, he's going to try to get the Triforce as well. Potato Pony has the advantage of having the wand, which he managed to dig out of 6 very quickly. Dungeon 6 had both a Triforce and the wand in the basement, near the entrance. Kigulus has not found Dungeon 6 yet, as he has not visited East Death Mountain. And that, combined with the map, you're mostly up to date, and as you can see from the overworld map, a great deal of it is concentrated in the northwest. If we zoom in up there, 3 Eddy Roads, 3 dungeons, the Armos item, the Woodsword Cave, and the Whitesword Cave, we're all on Death Mountain tonight. How do you like that? So, Potato Pony has good firepower. He's cutting through these rooms in 7 efficiently, but 7 is a large dungeon, and we don't know if there will be a payoff in its basement. The bow is the thing that Potato Pony wants to see the most. The ladder... Actually, the ladder might also be the thing he wants to see the most. They're both outstanding items. But we know from Kigulus' side, the ladder's in 5. We don't know where the bow is. Could be in 2, 7, or 8. There are no important items in 9 in this flag set. And so far, if I recall, we've only seen one Goma, and I think it was at the entrance to Dungeon 7. The one Potato Pony is currently in. Red Ring would be good. But both of our runners have done a very good job thus far. Dungeon 3 is the only dungeon we've spent time in that had Wizrobes. And so at some point we will need to return there to get a Triforce, and at that moment in time the Red Ring might feel more impactful, but so far the runners have done a great job. It's the White Sword bomb upgrade in Dungeon 7. In this flag set, the White Sword and Magical Sword have been replaced by bomb upgrades. That's a +2 bomb upgrade. Both our runners have already purchased a bomb upgrade from NPCs in the dungeons. For 110 rupees they got a +5. Bring them to 13 bomb capacity, and with that other bomb upgrade that Potato Pony just got, that brings him up to 15, and also refills his bombs. Meanwhile, Kigulus is trying to find the path to this Triforce in Dungeon 5. He's got the compass now, it's only a few rooms away. Both runners have the any key. Key door is not a problem. And so Kigulus just has to defeat a couple of rooms while staying alive, and he will be able to clear this dungeon out. But the Beamos might have another thing coming. Oh, and Guria as well. He's going to continue to use these bombs to give him the best chance of staying alive. Picking up the heart, also fantastic. Kigulus might have been sweating bullets there for a minute, but manages to escape Dungeon 5 with the Triforce, and more importantly, perhaps, the ladder. Meanwhile, Potato Pony witnesses that the Triforce in 7 is just lying around on the floor. There is a Patra circling it, which is not pleasant. There's also a Patra in the next room, and Potato Pony decides to quaff the other half of his potion that he took from a Take Any earlier in the seed, but then walks right back in and picks up the Triforce. He managed to do it without taking a hit. But at the same time, I expect he feels like that potion was a good investment, because if he had gotten hit, he didn't want to have to go all the way back through that 7 just to get that Triforce. So, both of our runners spent time digging a big dungeon, and succeeded in pulling out both the Triforce and the item. So maybe we'll see our runners kind of reverse places, but it turns out that Kigulus has gone into Dungeon 3. I believe that's the first time for him. Meanwhile, Potato Pony is probably going to be the one who discovers the location of Dungeon 8, because he's continuing to do some more overworld checks. Not many Pole's Voice have had to been killed by our runners. They've almost always been in a mix of other enemies in rooms, and so we've seen one or both runners often exit the room to respawn the enemies and get a Pole's Voice replaced by a Tektite, for example. But Kiglis does take the time to kill one there and finish off that room. It's just a key, which is now needless. And those blue wizarobes that I mentioned before when someone brought up the red ring, there they are in a difficult room in Dungeon 3, sending Kiglis back to the start of the dungeon. Meanwhile, in the rest of Death Mountain, Potato Pony has only located some shops. There's a few Power Bracelet and Bomb spots remaining. And Dungeon 8 has to be somewhere. Allegedly. Perhaps this is the first bug seed of the tournament. Seems unlikely. Alright, by my count, this is the second to last Power Bracelet spot in the overworld map. And it's just a potion shop. I still don't think we have seen the potion letter, so in addition to wanting to find Dungeon 8, especially for Potato Pony, who has already drank his potions, he has got to want to find the potion letter as well. So even if he finds Dungeon 8, we may still see him do a couple more checks. That said, he does not have the ladder, so he's not bothering to bomb open the spots across the river just yet, and is instead headed to go check the remaining Power Bracelet spot. But Kiglis has found Dungeon 8. It's in the spot that Potato Pony is probably headed to right now, near the Forest Fairy, the Power Bracelet spot there. And so we're going to have our first time in a little while that both of our runners are in the same dungeon. And at this point, they've entered it at almost the same time. So we'll get a good sense of who has cleared the dungeons more quickly. Speaking of, for those who came late, Dungeon 4, Kiglis already knew that the White Sword item was going to be the Any Key. Potato Pony did not when we were inside Dungeon 4. As a result, Potato Pony got through most of the dungeon, decided to save before spending a key, and save scum the key to explore the rest of Dungeon 4. It took him time. And in fact, we could probably see that if I pull up the time summary. There we can see in Dungeon 4, Potato Pony spent over 10 minutes, Kiglis spent under 8 minutes in Dungeon 4, and so that's been one of the obvious places where one runner spent a whole lot more time than the other. So we'll see if that ends up mattering at the end of the race. But now we're both in Dungeon 8. Dungeon 8's a big dungeon. It's got a couple of basement items. This is another one that could be highly variable, where one runner might take a lot more time than the other, but we'll be able to see it happening live. A nice manhandle kill for Kiglis. And there is a fairy right outside. Why redive the dungeon with 3 hearts when you can redive it with 8? Is perhaps the thought that has gone through Kiglis' head. It's the bow! Found by Potato Pony in one of these basements of Dungeon 8. That is the thing he wanted. Needed. Now the other thing he wants and needs is the ladder. If Kiglis finds the bow. Kiglis hasn't gotten the silver arrows out of 3 yet, or did he? I don't believe he did, but there's the bow. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kiglis has not seen the silver arrows in 3. So from Kiglis' point of view, he needs to continue diving 8, not just for the Triforce, but for the other basement, because perhaps the silvers are there. From Potato Pony's Potato Pony's point of view, he needs to keep diving Dungeon 8 after the Triforce, not because of the silvers, but because of the ladder. Both players have one required item remaining, and so both players might full clear this dungeon. Kiglis finds the transport stairs in 8. There's no visible segment on the map, so this should be the only set of transport stairs in the dungeon. This is one of the Wizrobe dungeons as well. Fortunately, Kiglis is exiting through that room, so he knows he doesn't need to kill those Wizrobes. And he's also picked up the Triforce, picked up the compass and knows the Triforce is just over here. And with dungeons 3 and 2 still outstanding to be dug, if Kiglis decides to just take the Triforce and run, I think that could be an excellent decision, because he can clear the other dungeons faster, perhaps, than this one. He's going to go ahead and grab the Triforce, and now for the decision. He can whistle to Dungeon 1, which is right next to Dungeon 2, and get back to Dungeon 2 very quickly. And now that he has the ladder, he'll actually be able to dive it, and then he can discover if his silver arrows are there. That said, if they are not there, he'll have to choose again between dungeons 3, 6, 7, and 8. 3 and 8 he knows both have blue Wizrobes. Potato Pony's also going to get the compass, discover that the Triforce is just a couple rooms away. But it looks like he's thinking harder. He's going to try to dig out this next item. He has more information having gotten the items out of 6 and 7. And so there's only 2 spots remaining that his final required, 3 spots remaining from his perspective where his final required item could be. And so he's more motivated at this moment to try to perhaps complete 8, but then takes a death. And so that's going to cost him some time as well. Potato Pony's point of view. 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 It is indeed very hard, but practice makes better. We're just over an hour into this match, and Kiglis having the ladder is a big deal. Potato Pony having the wand and having more information about items, having completed 6 and 7, seems to be in the lead, nonetheless. But there are still definitely enough unknowns that this could be anyone's race. Kiglis headed generally in the direction of the Triforce and discovers a banana on the floor, which he chooses to pick up. The wooden boomerang is our item in Dungeon 2. Kiglis can use it to stun enemies, but perhaps more importantly, it's information that the item he seeks is not in this dungeon. The Triforce, however, is in this room, and he's going to put bombs to good use to finish off the Gorilla and get his Triforce, and that's a very quick Dungeon 2 dive for Kiglis. In terms of our remaining outstanding items, we have not seen the red ring. Hey, there's the ladder for Potato Pony, and now he is definitely in the driver's seat, because at this point, he is Triforce and go. He just needs to get Triforces out of Dungeons 2, 3, 5, and 8. And in Dungeon 8, he already knows where it is and how to get there. Dungeon 5, if he chooses to go south, which I don't think he will right now, he will get towards the Triforce quickly. And Dungeon 3 is full of Wizrobes, and Dungeon 2 we just saw Kiglis dive and didn't take very long, so probably won't take Potato Pony very long either. But yeah, Potato Pony has solved the puzzle. Meanwhile, Kiglis is going to be very thrilled if he can manage to get through this Wizrope room to discover that the silver arrows are right here. He's going to be prudent and clear out the Bull's Voice, discovering that this is also the Triforce room. It's a super room. Super indeed. And just like that, what looked like a huge lead for Potato Pony has shrank, because now Kiglis also has the information. He is now also Triforce and Go, and he has 6 of the 8 Triforces. Potato Pony just picked up Triforce 5, and so he does as well. Potato Pony's remaining Triforces are in small dungeons. Kiglis's are in larger ones. However, Dungeon 6, the Triforce is like 1 room in. Dungeon 7, you have to go all the way to the upper left of the dungeon, so that one could still take Kiglis some time. And as Chad is pointing out, Potato Pony obviously has the wand as a combat advantage, but now that Kiglis has silver arrows, he's got 56 of them in his quiver, and so there's a variety of enemies, not the Wizropes, that the silver arrows will be able to help him out with in terms of ranged combat and in terms of dealing more damage than his puny wooden sword. But this one continues to be interesting. And I thought perhaps Kiglis was going to go pick up the red candle since he still lacks the wand, and we know the red candle is just off the coast. He didn't pick it up there. I haven't noticed. He might have picked it up at some other point. When he cycles through his inventory, we'll be able to check for sure. Potato Pony elects not to pick up the banana on the floor. He's got the wand. He doesn't feel like he's going to need to stun enemies. And he's going to spend silver arrows, since he's got so many of them in his quiver, 200, to finish this off and get Triforce 2. And at this point, the potion letter may be on one of these river spots or the final power bracelet spot, because I don't think we've seen it yet. Kiglis is going to go ahead and check the river spots. He has not found Dungeon 6, which was up on East Death Mountain in the open cave. Potato Pony is back in Dungeon 3. The room with his silver arrows we just saw is actually the room that contains the Triforce. Now Potato Pony will be able to take out the Bull's Voice, since he has the bow. And so let's hope he re-clears this room, or clears it for the first time. And it looks like he's going to. And there's his reward. There's only one Triforce standing between Potato Pony and Dungeon 9. And I'm going to double check things, but I think our potion letter is in the power bracelet spot near the vanilla start screen. No, Kiglis has been there too. Okay, I lied. Where's the potion letter? Wherever it is, I've missed it. One of the burn bushes near the start? Sounds plausible. Q5 is a speculation. I'm uncertain. In any case, here's Dungeon 6. This, as mentioned before, is one of the key pivots. Kiglis goes to the Triforce room immediately. So, bad news for him, he's unlikely to get the wand. Good news for him, that's the quickest Dungeon 6 that you're ever going to see. Kiglis knows where Dungeon 7 is. And so, he will be not too far behind, one imagines. However, Potato Pony knows the Triforce is in this room, so provided he does not get wall-mastered, and the Beamos almost just got him there, bopped right into the wall-master, be very careful. Alright, Potato Pony manages to get Triforce 8. And at 1 hour and 9 minutes into this race, is the first to unlock the door to Dungeon 9. Dungeon 9 is only a few screens away. So Potato Pony has the potion letter in his inventory. Okay, so it is one of the screens that Potato Pony found. And I didn't notice if Kiglis had it. Potato Pony is choosing to use the recorder. And there is a potion shop just one screen to the east over here. And so Potato Pony, I imagine, might be headed to the potion shop. Yes. Red potion costs 87. That's pretty expensive today. But Potato Pony is happy to have it taken to Dungeon 9. He still has plenty of silver arrows in his quiver. And now we'll be headed to Dungeon 9 directly. He can record her to 5 and is only 2 screens away. Meanwhile, Kiglis already has the compass in Dungeon 7, knows where he needs to get to. If he can get through 3 more rooms, he'll be able to follow Pony into 9. Pony enters 9 right around at hour 10. And I don't know if we have audio on Pony's side. I will check right now. It sounds like we do. So we'll go ahead and switch to Potato Pony's side. Kiglis witnesses the Triforce, but it is well guarded. Oh, and he dies just before it. Oh, that is rough. That is rough. You'll recall that Potato Pony spent a potion in order to survive that Patra and then didn't take a hit walking in to get it. Kiglis, unfortunately, will see how much time it takes him to get back to that room and try to grab that Triforce. But in the meantime, Potato Pony's in Dungeon 9. It's a smaller 9 today, on the order of low 40s rooms, which means many of the rooms are just going to be transport staircases, but it's a well-connected 9, and Potato Pony has 15 bombs. So I think there's a fair chance that he'll be able to discover the location of the kidnapper and the kidnappee relatively quickly. So it looks like he is still very much in the driver's seat. Meanwhile, Kiglis, it looks like that death to the Patra is going to cost him a minute. And that's assuming he only takes the 1 death. He still is taking some damage from the traps in here. But it looks like he's down to 2 hearts and on green tunic. I think the Patra is still a 1-hit kill. You would think that I would know this, but chat can confirm it. And Kiglis has a blue candle. He could try to candle boost, but there he goes. This time he gets it. It's Triforce 7. Kiglis has now also unlocked Dungeon 9. That cost him about almost exactly a minute. And so we'll see if that turns out to be the difference in this race. Now, Potato Pony has a red potion. Kiglis does not have a potion in his inventory at this moment in time, I don't believe. And so that's the other thing that's potentially going to set Kiglis up in a tough spot. Potato Pony has located a compass showing him the location of Princess Zelda. "43 rooms is the count in the chat. Hey, remember this? I called it out much earlier. Kiglis left a Take Any right next to Dungeon 9 early in the race. And I said, maybe that'll matter later. And he just went and picked it up. So now he does have a red potion going into Dungeon 9. Very smart of him to remember to pick that up before going into Dungeon 9. And so he'll be entering the dungeon just about 3 minutes behind Potato Pony. There's still plenty of time for 9 to do 9 things. We have an exciting race. There is our meat block, which turns out to be inconsequential in this seed. Bait is not required. It's also on sale for cheap. But at this point, the big question is, where is the location of Ganon? Potato Pony, with his lead, has had a chance to see with his eyes and also listen adjacently with his ears. And apparently is not located the big boss. But as we mentioned before, in a small 9, it's very possible that a magical staircase might be the only way to get to some of the dustier corners. Potato Pony already down to beep strats. Gonna try to kill this Manhandla with silver arrows. He still has plenty. Does manage to do it. The Manhandla will stay dead anytime you kill a boss in a room and then exit the room through a door. The boss will not return. Recall that there's still a 2 out of 3 chance that the red ring could be in a basement in this dungeon as well. And so in addition to using transport stairs as a way to try to find other dusty corners of the dungeon, it also might be useful to take them just to discover if you might find a basement item that could help you in your battle with Ganon. Kiglis has unfortunately gotten locked in a red wizard room that's just going to cost him some time, as well as some bombs. Because despite being bomb droppers, they did not choose to drop him any. So that's an unfortunate little dead end there for him. And I didn't see on Potato Pony's side, I know we saw at least one side of Zelda's room that did not have a doorway. I don't know if we've actually witnessed a shutter door path. Potato Pony gets bopped by the pole's voice and takes an unexpected death. So it's still anyone's race. With their potions in hand, both runners, despite just having 7 or 8 hearts, should be able to kill Ganon, I would expect. A moat room being perhaps the only thing that could really be a stumbling block. But it's a matter of finding him. Okay, we heard a boss sound on Potato Pony's side a moment ago. But I didn't notice if it was from... I think there was a Gliok. And Kiglis has the path? Okay, so he's actually witnessed the shutter door. So yeah, this is all the makings for a very exciting finish. And very different paths for our runners. One of them getting an early wand and finding the silvers early. The other kind of right ordering a few things in the seed a little bit better. And using knowledge of the Enter Key to save a couple minutes in 4. At this point, Potato Pony has seen a great deal of Dungeon 9, double-checking his map. He might be wondering, was there a boss I didn't clear that I might have not heard Ganon adjacent to me? Kiglis continuing to explore more of these stairs, hoping either for a red ring or the path he needs. Potato Pony takes another death. I don't think that's necessarily an awful thing. I would want to hold on to the potions to fight the big pig. And Potato Pony was right near the entrance, so it's not like it costs him much time just to respawn with 3 hearts. And yes, right of this Gliok is a potentially interesting tile. Can we get to the south? Plenty of bombs for Potato Pony if he wants to try it. And there it is! Ganon's in the upper right, and Kiglis is the first to find Ganon. Let's go ahead and switch back over to his audio. One potion has already been consumed. And Kiglis already has to drink the other. He still has a lot of hits left on Ganon. But he's currently in a great spot. Can he get a stun lock? There we go. Switching carefully to the silver arrows while preserving the stun lock, he manages to get 8 or 9 hits just there. He has a fair shot, but he really has to avoid the hug. Oh, he's almost there. 1 or 2 more hits will do it. And there we go! Down goes Ganon. Kiglis is the first to defeat him. He picks up the Triforce of Power. Does an immediate up and A. Can he get to Princess Zelda's room alive and finish this one out? It looks like he will. Is she going to shoot room? She is not today. So get your GGs in the chat for Kiglis, who's finishing this one with an official race time of 1 hour and 19 minutes and 21 seconds. And just behind him, Potato Pony is in Ganon's room right now. I'm going to go ahead and switch the map to the time summary around the time when Kiglis finished the match. And as you can see, Potato Pony spent a few extra minutes in Dungeon 9, but Kiglis still managed to find the path first and edge him out in this seed. But that ended up being a fantastic race, and I'm glad so many of you were able to be here to enjoy it. As I said earlier in the broadcast, both of these runners are in a tough group, where OpnoPoint has already clinched one of the seeds to move forward. We're playing in groups of 5. Potato Pony manages to kill off Ganon, and is now also going to be rescuing the princess moments behind. But second to 2 out of the 5 people in each group will advance, and still there's chances for second place, as well as tiebreakers. And so Potato Pony will be glad to finish just a little bit behind, because one of the tiebreakers involves penalty minutes. That is how many minutes the matches you lost, how many minutes you lost by. And so the close finish, should it come down to a tiebreaker, will be in Potato Pony's favor. But overall, this was just a great race by both runners. Yeah, and so I wish them luck in the rest of their tournament lives. And as Chad had pointed out before, the whistle tune today was indeed Pokemon Center. That said, I believe, and I'm going to double check, that there might be another game airing right now on Speed Gaming 3. Yes. And so, I think the appropriate thing to do is send a raid over there. So if you'd like to see more Zelda 1 Randomizer action, stay with the raid. But thank you everybody for coming along to this broadcast. I am Dr. Brian Lorigan 111, picking up some of the matches that did not fit on Speed Gaming this week. But yeah, thanks to our runners. I see Potato Pony in the chat. Thank you all. But let's go raid Speed Gaming and see some more Zelda 1 Randomizer.